same clothes as last video because I decided to do 2 chapters. Okay, so I've just finished reading, so I know that in chapter 17, they're all now in that portal place right beside the tower, and Nine's been given the ultimatum from this voice. You know, you shouldn't be here. Leave. She was given the choice to leave. Did she leave? No, she didn't leave because she's quite stubborn. She's also assertive. She knows what she wants. She wants to ask a question. She wants the answer herself. She also is quite what's the word? I can't think. Loyal. I think she's quite loyal. She's found a good friend in Flabbergast and she's concerned. She wants to know he's okay, so they've gone to help as well. So, chapter 18. Nine opened her eyes. She was sprawled on the cold stone slabs in the circular room, still clutching Flabbergast's clothes. The horrible laughing in her head slowly faded away, and there was another voice. Lady fine. Eric's face came unnervingly close to hers, and Nine jumped. Lady's always fine, she said, standing up. Did you hear the tower's voice? Aye, growled Spoon, and I didn't like what it was saying one little bit. Tower, mean. I wouldn't waste time if I were you. Startled, Nine, Eric and Spoon all looked at each other, and Spoon drew his sword. Because that's the tower talking again. You heard that? Did you hear that? Whispered Nine. The others nodded. From somewhere up in the spiral staircase came a distant wail, a distant wizardly wail that Nine knew very well. Flabby! Gasped Eric, his eyes wide with panic, his rough bark-like hands immediately searching for something in his apron pocket. He looked round at Nine, crestfallen. Sweets are gone! Then there came a distant turnip kind of wail. Gazillion, said Nine, and scowled. Of all the things we need right now, an extra wizard planning revenge is not one of them. She huffed, and with an armful of cloak, hat and slipper, she bounded for the stairs. Come on! Aye, grumbled Spoon, as he and Eric followed her. Makes perfect sense to run towards a pair of wheeling wizards. I'm up a narrow staircase in a strange tower in a land of magic. We've jumped through a hopscotch grid and been threatened by a building. Nothing has made perfect sense for quite some time. Nine leapt up the narrow stairs as fast as she could. She glanced over her shoulder to see the troll puffing and panting behind her, with Spoon close behind him, legs feeling the pull of never-ending stairs, and Nine pushed on round the corner, up and up and up. A sharp, thin voice floated down the stairs. They paused for a moment. It didn't sound like it belonged to a ridiculous wizard or an unturnipped one. It didn't sound wizardly at all. Come on! Nine grabbed Eric's hand, pulling him onwards. Spoon sprinted ahead. A doorway appeared on the left, and Nine saw Spoon dash through, sword raised, moustache twitching, and kilt flapping. We're here, lad! Oh, what the devil are you? Spoon began. Then, all of a sudden, he was silent. Spoon! Yelled Nine, dragging Eric behind her. She was nearly at the room. A fear pricked her mind. Something wasn't right. She could feel it. She turned round to Eric and put a finger to his lips, and then she crept quietly up the last couple of stone steps before the door, took a deep breath. Please don't let this be awful. Please don't let this be awful. And she approached the doorway. The first thing Nine saw in the pentagonal stone-floored room was a dark wooden table on the far side. Rewind. Pentagonal. We've done shapes. Pentagonal. What shape does that sound like? So you see in your mind, or if you're drawing, draw what shape this room is, if it's a pentagonal shape. It was piled high with papers and scrolls. Nine's eyes widened as she saw what was behind, and it was as she saw that behind it sat a strange creature. It was just a little shorter than herself. Nine guessed and looked at like a... Sorry, I'm going to start that again. It was just a little shorter than herself, Nine guessed, and looked like an eagle. It had feathers, sharp eyes and a beak, but it had feathery arms and hands instead of wings, and it wore a red-brown tunic on which was pinned a golden feather-shaped brooch. It was scratching away on a piece of parchment with a large feathered quill, muttering to itself. As Nine tiptoed further in, she saw Flabbergast, Gazillion, and Spoon, their backs against the wall, their feet not touching the ground, and their hands pinned to it with thick webs. Each of their mouths was covered with the same white sticky thready mass, which looked like giant cobwebs spun 1,000 times over. Flabbergast and Spoon shot Nine a warning look. Wide-eyed, Flabbergast shook his head at her. Eric suddenly moved forwards and peered around the door. "Found Flabby?" he cried. "Flabby fine?" "Shh! No more questions," hissed the eagle-like scribe, slamming down his quill. Half a dozen large, thick-legged spiders dropped down on threads from the ceiling and grabbed Eric in their strong legs. Before Nine could reach him, the spiders had swung Eric across the room and thrust him against the wall next to Spoon, frantically weaving thick webs over his hands and his mouth. Then they shot back up their threads onto a wooden beam that ran across the ceiling. The eagle creature ignored Nine and continued scratching on his scroll and muttering about askers. Nine's heart thumped. She stared at the others, now completely helpless, and it was up to her. Why was it always up to her? No more questions. And yet she had 1,000,000 questions she needed to ask. "Hello," she said softly to the creature. It dipped its quill into a bottle of ink, tapped the pen irritably, and continued. "You must be fed up with questions," Nine said carefully. Her muscles tense, ready for any reaction from the creature or the spiders. She edged further, cautiously, into the room. "You have no idea," muttered the creature. "Day in, day out, people come, all wanting the tower to answer their pointless questions." It raised its head and it scowled at Nine. "They never think of the paperwork it causes for the poor scribe. I've had 302 new entries just today. Once people hear the tower is open for hopscotch championships, everybody wants a turn. It's getting out of control. We should never have agreed to open again. No wonder the tower's had enough. I doubt you would like to be asked questions all day." Nine bit her lip. She needed answers, but now she didn't dare ask him any questions. "It must be awful," she said carefully. "We'll leave you in peace then. We'll go." She examined the creature for any sign of clue. "We'll go further up the tower." The creature scratched away furiously with the quill. "You cannot go up the tower unless you have a key to the door. And you cannot have the key to the door because the tower must not be disturbed. Hopscotch or no hopscotch." "I didn't see a door," she murmured, careful to keep her tone flat and not make it sound like a question. She walked back to the spiralling staircase and looked up the stairs. Definitely no door. She tried to walk up the next step, but her foot knocked into something invisible and solid. Starting from the bottom up, an ancient-looking oak door with black metal studs appeared. Out from the middle of it popped the head of a wooden gargoyle. "Key," it said. Hold on. "Key," it said in a gruff female voice and opened its mouth expectantly. Nine saw the shape of a keyhole inside the gargoyle's mouth. "I haven't got a key," she hissed. The gargoyle's wooden face scrunched up crossly. "Then don't knock on my blimmin' door." She retreated into the wood and the door disappeared from the top back down to the bottom, leaving nothing but the stone staircase. Nine huffed and marched back into the room, feeling her patience vanishing as quickly as the door had. She took a deep breath. She did need to stay calm. "I can see you're really busy," said Nine, walking up to the creature's desk and using every ounce of effort to keep her prickling temper under control. So if you would be kind enough to release my friends, but not that one in the mauve cloak, she nodded at Gazillion, who wriggled furiously, his blonde green hair flapping about, then we'll get out of your way. There are other reasons to silence you, even if you ask no questions, said the creature in a warning tone. Well, if you were just a little bit helpful, I wouldn't have to keep not asking, Nine said, clenching her fists. The creature slammed its quill down on the table and stood up. It leaned forwards, its feathery hands on the table. Nine's heart skipped a beat. A black iron key hung on a ring fastened to the creature's belt. She could feel that familiar itch in her fingers. I am up to my eyes with forms. I haven't had a holiday for 10 months. The spiders usually only attack anyone who dares to ask anything, but I am certain I could persuade them to make an exception. Half a dozen spiders from the ceiling then dangled down, hopefully. The creature sat down and returned to its paperwork. The spiders looked disappointed and sunk back to their corners. That's it. No more playing nice. With the eyes of a professional pickpocket, Nine looked around the room. Key, hanging from the belt. Spoon sword, lying beneath him on the floor. 6 spiders, ridiculously quick. Victim's weak spot? Nine smiled. Oh yes, she really had missed this. And then it goes ... ellipsis. So, it's not finished by all means. Nine is about to do something. She's got the itch in her fingers. She's looking around the room. She's surveying the room. What is she going to do? We will find out in chapter 19.